and the types of stocks and shares I invest my money into. Now, I just wanted to address my US-based subscribers. I am super, super sorry that I haven't done that much research in regards to what companies are out there in the US. I'm sure a lot of you, if you do your own due diligence, you would know. I believe the US system is a bit different to the UK system, because I think you guys have a 401k, and I believe the 401k is, I don't know how that works in terms of if that's added to your employee benefits plan, or it's something that you have to kind of do outside of or just on your own, be like with your earning potential. But if you are in the UK, right, the UK, if your company offers you shares, like an employee share scheme, then by you can participate and contribute some of your savings into it. A lot of financial services companies here in the UK tend to offer share schemes so that the employees can participate in the future success of the company. But we're talking about sort of investing. I'm just going to talk about investing in the general sense of what it is. I mean, investing just really means you putting your money into something that with the potential that it grows in the future. And that could literally be you investing in your skills so that your earning potential is higher. And if you want money to work for you, like perhaps starting a business might be a long-term solution to you stepping back and it paying you, or you invest in companies in the stock market, although the returns might be quite low over time. I believe Hargreaves does something sort of compound interest in, where it all depends on the time you invest, and in the long term, like if you do a lump sum of put a lump sum of money now, like 10 grand, and then invest on a monthly basis, like £200 a month, in the next like 20-30 years, you'd have a large sum of investment. So I'm going to talk on Hargreaves Lansdown because I suppose it's the most popular investment broker, third-party broker slash they offer a lot of products and service investment financial products and services. I'm going to go through my phone and I'll have them listed on the right hand corner of the site. So Hargreaves again has, my phone has decided to freeze at this point, which isn't good. So Hargreaves has a stocks and shares ISA, and that it's I suppose you can save like £20,000 and you'd be exempted from tax, shelter 20,000 from tax with access when you need it, and you can take it out whenever, although there will be a fee because remember Hargreaves is a third party. They do a fund and share account, and you can build your own fund and share portfolio of different types of funds and stuff, where you can just deal in shares. And you also get to open a personal pension. So if you're a contractor or you work for yourself, you're an entrepreneur and you want to start contributing to your pension, you can open a pension savings plan. And I believe the age to access your pension in the UK is about 55. It does say that on Hargreaves, which is amazing because I thought it was about 60, and it was being, I think by 2020 is going to go up to like 60 or 65, but it's worth doing your research. And then they have a lifetime ISA, and I believe that's also facilitated by the government, and you can save up to £4,000 and the government will reward you 25% towards your savings plan. You can also do, if you're saving towards a house, you can do a lump sum and you can do a monthly savings plan, at least £200 a month or something, and then by the end of the year, or if you've created a pot of over 10 grand or 8 grand, yeah, the government contributes about 25% towards your savings, towards your house, towards your mortgage. So there's so many amazing savings plans. And then if you're a parent and you want to start an investment plan for your kids, you can do that via Hargreaves. So there's so many things out there. And then the other secondary ones that I had spoken about ages ago were whatchamacallit, Money Box, and so they're very tailored to specific things, and but I think Hargreaves is the biggest. And what you can do is, if you have investments lying around everywhere, then perhaps you can import everything onto Hargreaves. Like Hargreaves can do all the work for you. And in terms of dealing in shares and dealing with companies, I use the FTSE challenge to look at all the listed companies in the UK. These are all companies. The FTSE is where you have a list of like really well performing companies and companies that have been listed, that have gone for an IPO, an initial public offering, who want to trade their shares publicly in terms of in exchange for growth within their company. So I use the FTSE challenge, and you can see the FTSE challenge. You can see a list of like all UK companies, right? And how much their market cap is and how much they earn. You can go to the websites of these companies and see and look at their annual reports and accounts. And again, I said previously that with these companies, with younger companies, right, it depends on how you want to invest. With younger companies, they're still growing and they're still getting investment. And I'll give an example. I met someone, not a friend, I met someone when I was like I went to this conference in London, and I met someone, and he asked me like, where do I work, blah blah blah. We're just like conversing, and then he told me he worked for a company called Cakebox, and Cakebox had just IPO'd because they were doing really well, and they had just submitted an initial public offering to have their shares traded on the exchange, on the market. And so I was in my Hargreaves app. I literally, it's not that I know what companies to invest in, but sometimes when I meet people, when I'm just having a conversation, like I'm like, interesting, like what's he talking about? And so what you can do with Hargreaves is like, you can have a list of companies that maybe people have spoken about, and just like you have a watch list, right? I'll leave it here. You have a watch list in Hargreaves, and you can watch people's stocks. So you can watch company stocks. So Cakebox Holdings, they've skyrocketed. At the time I checked, at the time he told me that they had just IPO'd, Cakebox was on, you could buy their shares for like 1 pence, I believe. I think it was 1 pence. And had I, see, ordinary shares 0.01, 1p. I could have bought shares in Cakebox, at least 100 shares in Cakebox, right, for 1 pence. And now their share price has skyrocketed to £1 68 pence. I mean, these are all the initiatives, like there's signs everywhere, and you can see where to put your money. And if you make a good, like, it's something that you know that might be growing, or if you wanted to do a short-term investment, I would have bought the 1p shares, and in the long term, let's say now, like once their share price is like 2p, once their share price is like £2, I would sell my 100 shares and get the return from the investment. Okay, so that's the kind of thinking that, again, you want to cultivate, and you just have to be vigilant. And I'll give a list of sites that that help in terms of knowing what's going on within a company. So I'll just give another example as well, because there's one that's been bugging me that has been on the news. So for example, Facebook, oh my god, and a company I work for, and I'm not going to mention the company here. So I'll give Facebook as an example, and I'll give like my company as an example as well. So I don't know how much Facebook shares are, but if you check how much they are, but immediately, like, I'm sure immediately it was announced that the board of directors of Facebook were having issues with keeping Mark Zuckerberg on, and perhaps he might have to step down from the board. I'm sure as a result of that news and that information, Facebook shares dropped. And that would be because people are threatening that if Zuckerberg leaves, then the value of the shares will go down, because he's like the face of the company and he built the thing. So people get panicky. That's why people say the stock market moves as a result of people's emotions, and they're like, I don't know if my investment's safe. So to avoid the risk of my shares falling, I'm just going to take my money out now and put it in somewhere else. And that's how it is. Like, the market is always moving, and it's always going through a lot of activity, so, and the company that I worked for, this is what happened to them, because at the time I left, and I was just left as a contractor, at the time I left, The company shares were about £3.55 because they had just, majority of their income was based through like them acquiring companies, and they were very sturdy, very good company. The board of directors had been there for quite a long time, so they had taken it for, they had sturdily increased the growth and the share price of the company, so they had been doing really well. Now the CEO, the chief executive officer, who had done so much for the company for a period of I think he was in term for about 2009, I think. No, I don't know, about 9 years. And he's announced that he was stepping down. He was leaving the company for early retirement. People panicked the fuck out and their shares dropped. It went down to £2.50 from £3.55. So people lost hope. Imagine if you had bought their shares for about £3.20 or so, or you'd bought their shares for £3.50, and now people are telling you that the shares are worth £2.50. I mean, that's how it works. But not to worry, things might pick up, because if they get a new chief executive, and the chief executive is popular for, you know, doing amazing things, then those might skyrocket. Okay, and whatever they announce, perhaps they announce their results and they're amazing, and so that means the value of your shares goes up. Okay, so that's how literally it works within how it works in investing, and you could do whatever you want with it. Hargreaves has a lot of information on their website and educational content that you can literally just immerse yourself in and just start. I think the best thing to do is just start, because by starting, by you taking action, you start to understand how things work and keeping abreast of like of news and what's going on in the world. And that's when all your Financial Times come in, and that's when This Is Money is relevant, that's when Forbes too is relevant, and all these financial sites. You start to think like an investor, because all you're thinking about is your money and whether your money is growing or not. But the other type of investment that I will talk about, and this one can yield you amazing returns, is starting a business. And starting a business where there is demand in the market for whatever it is you're offering, whatever service or whatever product. You can do this as a side hustle. I'm in e-commerce. I believe e-commerce has a lot of there's a lot of work with e-commerce, and you don't necessarily have to hold. I think the majority of people, when they start online businesses or businesses that require a large amount of inventory, they freak out. But with the way things are working out these days, and with the internet, and there's so many, like with Amazon and things like that, you don't need to hold any inventory stock. So I'm going to talk about a particular company, and they're called Farfetch. Farfetch is in fact, there are loads, because there's Farfetch, there's Yoox, which is owned by the Net-a-Porter group, and they're all fashion retail companies, and none of these companies actually hold any inventory stock. They're all shipped from the warehouses of either the suppliers, or they partner with boutiques, and then like they're just basically the facilitators and then the marketers of these products that get shipped out to you. So all you're doing is just building the platform where people can buy stuff. Okay, so you're like the buyer basically. There's so many different things that you can do in this day and age to make your money grow for you, but I hope I've been able to sort of spark an idea that would help you, that would lead you on to the next step into sort of thinking about things like this, so that, you know, money is not so much an issue in the long term. And especially if you're young, it's great to start doing things when you're young, because the rewards would be so good in the future. But yeah, I will leave you guys now, right? I hope you guys are all having a great time, and I'll catch you in my next video. Ciao.